Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 25th City of Escondido City Council meeting.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council members. I am Robert Vandyhide, Deputy City Manager and also Director of Information Systems. I'm joined here tonight with Holly Nelson. She has, she's our neighborhood and housing manager. I'm also joined with Chief Farso from the Escondido Police Department. Tonight we are going to give you an update on homelessness. This is a Q1 update.
Thank you, Rob, and good afternoon, Council. My name is Holly Nelson, like Rob said, and I'm the new Housing and Neighborhood Services Manager, so the new Karen. Very happy to join the team and very excited to do this important work for the community. A little bit about my background. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, so I've worked for the last 15 years in the field of homelessness specifically. I've worked at all levels, at the micro level, helping individuals experiencing homelessness on the streets. I've managed programs and designed programs at various nonprofits, and I've also worked for other local governments in the area, making sure that we're designing valuable contracts, working with councils, working with community members, and truly this is my passion. So it's my joy to be here today, and I'm excited to be a part of the conversation.
Tonight's focus will be on the recent point-in-time count. So the next section here is I actually want to just start to dive into the point-in-time count data. This data is all on our homeless website, homelessness.escondido.org. Anyone can go and check this data out. And you'll see we have data all the way back from showing a historical standpoint from 2014 to 2022. And so you see the total amount in the blue lines. But the green line here is the sheltered line. And I want to bring some attention to a few things. So if we look at here, 2020 was the last point in time count. That's why we're missing the unsheltered number here. And we're also missing the total because of that, because there was no point in time count in 2021. But the thing I want to point out here is on the red line, which is the unsheltered, we went from 264 to 182. So we saw a 31.1% decrease in unsheltered individuals. That was some of the data that came out. We're pretty excited about that. That tells us that we're seeing some success in our programs, shows us we're seeing success in our city efforts. We're getting people off the streets. The green line also kind of indicates some of the same thing, as this line sharply goes from 154, or if you take a step back from 165 in the 2020, to 317. So you can see the resources that we're using from the federal level to create opportunities for people to exit unsheltered to sheltered and hopefully lead to permanent housing. We see this number drastically going up at 317. So that's a 92% increase. That was a great number to see. I'm pretty proud to see that. That just talks, I think, volumes around our effort as a city and with our partners. We are one of 8 cities that saw a decline in unsheltered population in this point in time count, which again was a number I already mentioned, the 31.1% decline in unsheltered. I'm pretty happy with that number. I like to see that decline. It means we're going in the right direction. So as we continue on with the city efforts, I thought it was important that we really jump into the cops per unit. And Chief Arso will kind of dive into that conversation for us.
So when you look at the police department's involvement in this issue, there's really 2 primary areas that we're involved in. The first part of it is the high-risk mental illness in our community within the homeless population. And our primary team that is involved in that is our PERT, or our Psychiatric Emergency Response Team. And as you know, that involves a police officer that's partnered with a mental health clinician. And this specific team is out in the community working with homeless individuals that are suffering from mental illness and trying to get them connected with the resources that they need.
Yeah, I would agree with Mike in terms of when you look back in your line of how many homeless we had, we're a little below what we were in the past a number of years ago, and then it started going down. And then with COVID, it seems to have climbed back up. The good news is we've got more people sheltered than we did back in those early years. The other thing is I want to do a shout out to the staff, and this is to our television audience. trying to get the cities together. This started several years ago, and we formed a committee. And the bottom line is this: is that our city staff took the lead on it because we knew it wasn't going to get done by magic. Somebody had to herd the cats, get everybody into the room, talk about who does what, and that was also with our partners, with Compact and Interfaith, and it's been a lot of work, and we really need to recognize that. Okay, it's not finished, but we're moving in the right direction, and I think we're moving more toward a solution than that is, no kidding, practical, rather than just opinions of how we need to solve homelessness. So Rob, Holly, Greg, Patty, the whole team, everybody, Chief Varso, the fire department, I mean, everybody, I'm sorry, Public Works. Sorry, that was a close one, almost forgot. I didn't want to hear the end of that one. But, and code compliance, all right, that of all the people that are working on this, you really deserve a round of applause for everything that you've been doing. And I think as people who are interested read this and look at it, I mean, it didn't happen by magic. It took a lot of work and dedication. With that, we'll move on to item 13, consideration of term limits for elected municipal offices. Is that you, Mike?
This is Mike's item.
Mike and Mike?
I look at the city of Escondido and historically what has happened, and we have an extensive number of examples of individuals who have, been in office term after term after term.
For me, I also think about like that. Why is it being proposed? That's why I asked my colleague, because the person who brought this forward is also the longest serving council member.
It was 3 terms as council member and 2 terms as mayor. Is that the proposal? Okay.
Yes. City treasurer, consideration of city treasurer position and compensation. Again, Mike, you're up for that one.
The salary. In this case, as I just mentioned, 1/2 of the highest paid salary to a department head other than the city manager. Mr. Schultz's salary is $105,000, almost $106,000. The San Diego County mean salary, so looking at the salaries removing the County of San Diego, which is a tax collector position, is $12,840. And again, it's almost 88% above your median salary. That's what I have. Again, high level, and I'm here to listen.
Okay. Joe, you want to start this time? Or no, I'm sorry. Mike, you want to, since you kind of brought it up?
Whereas our treasurer currently receives $106,000 plus benefits annually for a very part-time position. The county average is $13,000 for that same duty, those same responsibilities, that same part-time position. Let's have a variety of options. The primary one would be, do we continue as an elected continue having the treasurer as an elected office, or do we bring it in-house? I know I've had some discussions with Treasurer Schultz. Preference would be to keep it as an elected office. I tend to agree with him on that. He had made a recommendation about the possibility of tying it to, instead of 50% of the highest salary, 50% of the mayoral salary, it should be something more like what city council's stipend or salary is, and that makes a lot of sense. It would still be higher than what the county mean or average is.
Can I mention one other thing just
Sure.
for a moment? And that is, if you recall, in 2020, at the end of Mr. Schultz's first term, there were no other applicants for that position, if I recall.
Correct.
And so you ended up appointing him. So just something to keep in mind, that if you don't have a robust interest in the position for whatever reason that might be, just something to think about. When you're looking at salary numbers, for example, or if you're going to have high qualifications, you may be impacting the pool of applicants. One that already was very wide open, and you didn't have anyone.
Well, Mike, I think if people knew he was making $106,000,
Don't disagree
the
with
line
you.
would be wrapped around the building. But
Don't disagree.
I read Treasurer Schultz's email, and I would say, based on his own experience, he's telling us that it probably is, not probably, it is higher, that it's okay for us to recommend changing his salary. In regard to elected, I would say if we continue with this being an elected position, I think 3 terms is probably a sufficient amount of time.
And I don't really ever see the treasurer except when they come, like maybe once a quarter, right, in the audience to give the presentation. And then I think a lot of it is outsourced to a consultant. So I'm not really sure how much time the treasurer dedicates to this role. This is not a knock on our current treasurer, but just I'm wondering about time. That's concerning, especially for that high salary amount. Also, it's concerning that you don't have to have qualifications, and then it's an elected position, and you really only need, if no one runs, you really only need 1 vote, and then you're elected. I'm wondering if we need an elected treasurer position, or if that's something that we can take on in-house. Again, this goes along to my question of how much time is spent and what really does the treasurer do, because aside from coming before the dais and presenting quarterly updates, I don't really hear very much from the treasurer. And I know they have an office here, but I don't see them here at City Hall.
Just one point that the Consuelo brought up, 38 years ago when this first came up, 38 years ago when it first came up, then it was modified as far as the elected position. There was more leeway as to what could be done on a local basis in regards to the Treasury position. And what we've learned is that the state has constricted those variables so much that it's such a narrow bandwidth. There's not much that can be done as compared to what used to be able to be done.
Thanks for reminding me about that, Mike. Yes, because it's about managing the investment portfolio, which we're limited, right, based on state laws.
My thought is this. So what does the treasurer do? Well, obviously he manages this portfolio, but he has very, very strict restrictions. And the budget he's managing is $235,000, right? And is 106 of it his salary, of his budget?
Plus benefits.
Okay, so I see she's nodding. So of that 235, subtract 106, and he's managing a budget of 129,000. And does that include his employee salary?
There are allocations out on that.
Huh? Does that include 2 staff members' salaries?
Yes. Christina says yes.
All right, Christina says yes. So he's not really managing a budget. He's just got a budget that pays the salary of the 3 people in the Treasury Department. So my thought is that we should eliminate it as an elected official and simply make it give it to the city manager, just like the city clerk, and let the city manager decide who the city treasurer is.
Continuing.
I mean, you hire and fire our city clerk,
right.
Correct?
Correct.
I think you should hire and fire our city treasurer.
If that's the direction, I'm happy to bring back what that plan.
Well, that's my opinion. I don't know what my colleagues think.
Or you can merge those roles together with your director of finance and your city treasurer.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that, but I would leave that up to the city manager whether or not he wants Christina to wear 2 hats. The past 13 days, I was out of state at my daughter's wedding, and so I want to thank my colleagues for indulging my absence. And while I missed you all and wished I was there, the one thing that I really missed was the city manager's weekly activity report. And so I've been waiting all night for this.
Well, I'm going to disappoint you because staff's kept you here long enough, and so I'm going to send you all home.